actually, it's kind of a misnomer on the name, because although we broadcast from New England and usually talk about New England topics, our topic tonight will go far beyond the boundaries of New England and even the Northeast to include the entire United States, actually entirely with North America. So we started this show about 3 weeks ago, and we were concerned with how the dealers were doing. And then last week it was, when are the campgrounds going to open? And now, really, folks, it's a life and death situation. And probably the most underserved audience in the entire RV market is full-timers. So Bob Zagami and I have put together extensive work during the week. We have talked to RVers from all over the country. You're going to hear their testimony. You're going to hear them. You're going to see them. And we have another expert with us, Chuck Woodbury, the editor of one of the largest RV publications in the entire United States, RV Travel, that will be joining us later on in the show. Bob, you know what? We kind of made light of this a couple weeks ago when we got back from California with the Winnebago dealers meeting. And then, last week we were discussing with the campground owners, when can they open? Now we really want to talk about a special show, talk about the plight of the full-timer who has nowhere to go. And as you'll hear from one of our people tonight, was told that they had 1 hour to pack up and get out of town. Bob,
this was your creative idea earlier this week when you started to look on living the RV dream and just getting better and better. Would you have over 50 responses from people that thought that they would like to talk about this nationally?
Right. Well, you know what? It was 50 responses in the first hour and a half, and it turned into 177 people. I've got 18 pages of stories of people, and what we had to do was go through and try to find out the most compelling stories that would be representative of people all over the country, and whether they were brand new people, whether they were first-time full-timers, or people that had planned to do something but can't do it now because of that. But you had a chance to head to a dealer today. Tell me what you found up at Lee's.
Yeah, I was back up in Maine today, and we got a park model up there. We're hoping to be able to open it May 1st, and it looks like we will. Old Orchard Beach has put in some severe restrictions against campgrounds and hotels and Airbnbs and everybody else, but we're still hoping to shoot that. So I thought I'd swing by and see. They had people on the lot. They sold 5 units this week. They're practicing, social distancing, but it's business. In Maine for our dealers, it's business as usual. So they're not hurt. Not for the campgrounds, but.
So as far as your particular campground is concerned, it's a park model campground, so it's a little bit different. There's not transient business.
It is, but we're hoping it's legally classified as a campground because they are RVs, even though it's all park models. It looks like a housing development, and most of the people are, that's the second home for 6 months. So, and a lot of the people come from Florida or go to Florida in the winter, so they don't have, much like RVers, they don't have any place else to go. They closed up their Florida home, or they rent it out in, the winter or the summertime, and then they come back up north. So if they can't get into the campground, they've got to go someplace else. And if the campgrounds aren't open, the hotels aren't going to be open. So we got Riney joined us tonight. Hello, Riney. Walter Swenson. Good evening, Walter. I think you're going to like this one. How do you want to play this tonight?
Let me do this. Let me just read a couple of these comments that people have that were kind enough to write on. And the site that we're talking about, I think, folks, you can find phenomenal information there. I've used this for quite a while. In fact, Bob, we even interviewed the founders of this site, John and Kathy Huggins, not too long ago. And I think there's about 65,000 members of a Facebook page called Living the RV Dream. Living the RV Dream. And if you have a question about virtually any aspect of RVing, whether it's about a certain type of unit, or whether it's about a destination, or whether it's about work camping, this group is a very educated, very dedicated, very devoted group to helping out other RVers. And this is where I went for some of my information. Let me read a couple of these responses, and then we're going to get into the tape. As Jay Leno would say, let's go to the tape. But a guy named Tom says, John, as of right now, I'm work camping at a campground in Arizona. My travel has been cut down with the virus due to a lot of events I would normally work and travel being postponed or canceled, such as giant state fairs out west. And this is a gentleman who worked in the concessions on state fairs. Like we happened to be in Palm Springs when that Coachella festival was canceled, and he'd be at that, and he does high-end food. If, believe it or not, if there's such a thing as high-end food at a state fair. So Renee writes, she's retired, initially planning to go to Arkansas April 1st for family, but staying put in Arizona for another 30 days. So I asked, are you able to stay at the same place? They said, yes, we're staying in Welton, Arizona, and park has seasonal as well as park models along with normal travelers. Most have decided to stay put, but most Canadians have gone back. And that's another group of people that are very interesting because they kind of leave Canada around our Thanksgiving and head down till April or May to either Florida or Arizona or Texas. But one of our people said there was a mass exodus of Canadians about 2 weeks ago, and maybe there was something about closing the borders down there that they had to get back. I'll read one more, and then if that tape is ready to go, we'll go from there. Tina's a full-timer staying.
You know what? I think we should bring Chuck up now.
Okay.
I'm getting some background noise off his computer. He may not realize that he's live, and we'll let him do some commentary along with us. So, Chuck, can you hear me? Chuck? Okay, Chuck, can you hear me? Chuck? Chuck? Can you hear me?
You might not have it sound on yet.
Chuck, can you hear me? You're on screen, Chuck.
He's having something to eat regardless.
Yeah, he's having dinner. All right, I'm going to drop him back down. We'll get him. Can you hear me, Chuck?
We hear you.
Your mic is on, Chuck. All right, I'm going to drop him back down. We'll try to go with the.
Okay. I got one more here. Full-timer staying at an RV resort, also an ER nurse on assignment in Arizona, will be headed to Minnesota in just over 3 weeks. Boy, has life changed in the past month. I said, it sure has. Are you overloaded in the ER? And she said, not yet. Hasn't hit Arizona. In New England. It has only hit a few states so far. Right now, most hospitals are way below their normal census. So, Bob, why don't we do this? Go to one of the groups that responded. We've got a number of people that we want to say hello to here. You want to do the roll call over there and start with Frank? Or you need to do that when you're getting that ready.
Yeah, you do that because I'm having a little trouble bringing it up. So you run the roll call and see who's there.
Okay. Frank Kate says, keep up the good show. Thanks from Lynn, Mass. Kevin, how do I say his last name? Hiroki. Good evening, guys. Michelle Fontaine, good evening, guys. Maria Galante, hi, guys. Walter Swenson, health insurance doesn't cover them in the U.S. in most cases, or it's very expensive as I understand it. I don't know what he's referring to there. And Andy Park says the A-team is on tonight. Chuck, turn on your mic. Okay, Andy says, Chuck, turn on your mic. And Gail Hogan says, if they contacted the virus in the U.S., the insurance would not cover them. Oh, that must be, they're probably referring to Canadians there.
Yep.
So.
All right, you want to run with the first one?
Anyway, so Jesse Brissett's here, and guy with the John DePietro name. I don't know who that could be. Is here as well. So, Bob, can Chuck see the host chat area? Okay, we'll figure that all out.
Yeah,
so
we're going in some uncharted territory. So
right.
we figured out we're going to use our Saturday nights as our practice round for Wednesday. So if we're a little rough, we're learning some new things here. So I'm going to drop.
I think this is Jay Lasher, right?
Yeah.
Now. And Jay is talking to us from Virginia, and listen to his story. And here we go, Jay.
I'm going to drop all of us down, and we'll listen to Jay.
So I'm told that there's no sound. I know Bob is probably working on that, but I'll tell you a little bit about what Jay was talking about. And in the meantime, because we've never done this before, hopefully we'll be able to get it all worked out. But basically, Jay is in Virginia and had been at a campground for 5 months and had a knock on his door Tuesday or Wednesday of this week saying, the governor is shutting the place down. You've got to leave in an hour. And Jay said, well, we've been here 5 months. How are we going to get out of here in an hour? I just physically can't get all my stuff together. So he was able to negotiate what he thought was an additional day, but was unable to have the association, the campground that he was at, give him that time. So he ended up having to pack up in a short period of time and move on to another place that he had stayed at before. But the biggest problem that he had to deal with, because he had some discounts, he was spending about $150 to $200 a month. And that rent for the new place was going to be about $600 to $700 a month. And at the same time, he had found out that his wife had just lost her job, obviously because of the slowdown in business where where she had worked. So now he's moved to a new place. He's got a 1 month's rent and is going to try to figure out how to stay there and do that with increased expenses and lower revenue. So that's Jay's story. And
all right, we're not getting the sound on that one. So let's see if it's a universal problem, and if it is, we'll have to figure out what's going on. Let me see if this. No, I don't want that.
so, folks, stay with us. This is live TV, and you know what? The video worked fine. There's just no sound to it for whatever reason. But anyway, let me read you a couple other points that people had talked about. So I understand that we still don't have time, but why don't we do this? Bob, if you're there, you can come up. But while you're working on that, I will answer some of the questions that our folks have. In fact, I see that Jay Williams, who's one of our scheduled guests, is with us here. Maybe, Jay, you can, Bob, how can we get him the link so that he can come on?
I can put the link down below.
Yeah, put the link down below. Jay Williams, hit that link and come on with us live. And Nick Wright is with us as well. Let's get Nick on here. And
Nick, I'd like to try a second video. Let's see if we can get Jay on.
Okay.
Jay, if you click that link in a Chrome browser, and it does have to be in the Chrome browser.
I don't see. Oh, there it is over there. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jay Williams, look over on the right.
He's here. He's here.
Oh, hey there. Okay. Jay. So while you're doing that, I'm going to William, look over on the right. There we go. There's Jay right there. Hey there. Okay.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Jay. So Jay, while you're doing that, I'm going to William, look over on the right. There we go. There's Jay right there. Jay. So Jay, while you're doing that, I'm going to William, look over. Okay. Jay, can you hear me? We can't hear you. Okay. Jay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can. Fine.
You. Okay.
Okay. So, Jay, remember the interview we did the other day? Can you hear me?
Yes, we're there.
We can hear you.
Fine.
We got some lag.
So, Jay, remember the interview we did the other day? Can you hear me?
Are you?
Yes.
Jay, do you have your computer and your phone on? Jay?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those things that happen every once in a while. But believe me, we'll get through it. We will get through it.
We have a mic. I'll just have to mute the mic in between phrases here.
Okay. So, Jay, remember the interview we did the other day? You could just nod your head. We're going to do it all over again. Okay. So, you are in Arizona now, right? You're in Arizona, and you sold your house back in November quicker than you expected and decided to go full-time RVing after having never owned an RV before. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. And basically, Gay was more of the impetus, had kind of did more on this than you did.
She did everything.
Right. So, Gay, you can hear me, right? Can she talk? She can talk, right? Or you got the mic?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. So tell us, well, you know what? Tell us the bad part first. The part that really got you saying, look I'm going to go live my life. You had a bout with a bad thing. Tell us about that and why you made the decision to do what you did.
Go ahead.
We really have a delay, but we'll get through it.
Okay. I was finishing up chemotherapy after I had a stage 4, grade 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it was a very difficult proposition, as you can imagine, and bald as a beanpole. And last July was diagnosed or was cleared with, yes, the lag is kind of difficulty.
There you go. Just take your phone out and talk.
So when I finished the chemotherapy, July 16th is what I consider my new birthday because I was deemed in 100% remission. And I decided in our situation, I didn't want to live in Southern California and all I was doing was working to pay the mortgage.
Yep.
That was not the kind of life. I was given a new life again, and I wanted to go out and live it. So I said, hey, this is what I want to do. What do you think?
And I didn't think she was serious.
Right. So you sold the house quicker than you expected. And then you had to go out and find an RV that you knew nothing about, but Gay, you had some pretty specific criteria that Jay had to follow. Tell us what you wanted.
Well, I came up with the criteria that I wanted. Number one, be able to walk all the way around the bed. I didn't want to have to shimmy up from the end. I wanted 2 entry doors, so I wasn't, in a claustrophobic situation, that I could go in and out from both ends of the rig. The other thing that in watching different videos of different rigs and looking at all the different brands and things, one thing I really wanted was when all the slides were in and we were traveling, I could get to part of the refrigerator, all of the bathroom, and reach the bed without having to open any slides.
So you scoured the entire United States to find a unit.
Yes, I settled on a Grand Design Momentum 397 toy hauler, and I didn't want to buy a new one because we were going to be traveling. I didn't want to have to deal with the warranty issues and having to go back to a specific dealer if something came up. I wanted someone who had already dealt with all of that. So I scoured the country looking for that specific floor pan and finding a used one. And there were only about 5 in the entire country for sale at the time that I was looking. And we found one in northern Arkansas, which ironically is where I'm originally from. And so we drove back there in December and picked up we bought a truck 2 days before we were supposed to leave to go get the rig. We were not really knowing what we were going to do if we didn't have a truck to go get it. And we drove the truck out there and loaded up, having never done it before, having had a hitch installed on the way from California to Arkansas. And then we hitched it up at 10 o'clock at night in 24 degrees, freezing sleet and freezing rain. We had no idea what we were doing, but it was kind of trial by fire. We're going to get it done. We can get this figured out.
Which you did.
Where they're telling that guy, that we bought it from, he's trying to show us what to do and how to work everything. And I'm just like, nah, don't worry about it. Just let's get it hooked up and let's go. Yeah, we'll figure it out later.
Get out of here. So you got your unit and then you came out and tell us where you've been and where you were planning on going. I know that you planned on the grandchild journey, right? You got 17 grandkids between y'all.
I have 17 grandchildren.
Yeah, we have 17 grandkids. We were going to pull it back to California and then go some other places, but Gay had her last scan was on March 10th, and she's 100% remission. Woohoo!
Thank goodness.
And but bringing it back to California, it was really, really cold, and we had to go through we didn't have any of our stuff with us. We just literally went and got the rig and was dragging it back. It was really cold. We were staying at Walmart or staying at, we found a little place in Shawnee, Oklahoma that was, you could stay the night for free. We were going to stay there a couple of nights because we were both kind of exhausted. And Gay looks at the weather forecast and she says, there's tornadoes coming. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a California boy. I don't know what a tornado looks like, especially before it happens. And so, sure enough, we pull out the next morning, and that day there's tornado warnings in the park where we were actually staying. So she helped us dodge a bullet on that one. But yeah, really cold and trial by fire, like she said.
Okay. And as it turned out, there was some severe weather at that location that if you had stayed there, you might have not be speaking to us tonight.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a few hours after we left. There was tornado warnings.
Yeah. And it sounds like we may have the delay taken care of. Does that sound right?
We're working through it. I've got to
Yeah.
work.
Okay. Okay, good. You can read my lips.
Yeah,
Right?
it's better. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, where are you now, and how has this virus issue thrown a monkey wrench into your plans?
We right now we're at Lake Mead, Nevada, and we were going to stay here a couple weeks. Then we had another class planned, which got canceled. We extended our stay here, and then last what was it,
2 weeks ago Monday.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Okay, yeah, 2 weeks ago this coming Monday. Everybody, they came to the door saying, you guys are going to have to leave. You guys are going to have to pull out on Wednesday. And then a few hours later, apparently somebody, had some miracles that they had to cash in or whatever, and we got a reprieve from the government. And they said, if you're here, you can extend your stay. And so that's what we're doing now. We're waiting to go see our new grandbaby, who's up in Bozeman, Montana, and that's just kind of where we're at. We're just here for the duration, and we work from the road. So we've been working on getting our internet connection stabilized, and finally working through some of the bumps and bruises of getting started in this thing.
Well,
still learning a lot, and really love our online communities because we learn a lot from them, and it's been a blast.
What have you found about the spirit of RVers? Because you guys have been through hell and high water with Gay's cancer issue, but you've got smiles on your faces, and a lot of people who may not have gone through the hardships you've already gone through might be looking at a little bit different and looking at from a selfish perspective, saying, well, I've got this brand new unit and I can't travel. That doesn't seem to be your case at all.
Yeah.
We really, and seeing all these people that are being displaced, that's, something that's been kind of frightening for us because we don't have a sticks and bricks to go back to. Yeah. This is our home. And in Nevada, we believe one of the reasons we were able to stay is because when the governor of Nevada said shelter in place, and all of the restrictions he put out in his executive order, one thing he said was, you cannot evict anyone. And because this is our home, everyone else in the park that's staying also live full-time in their rigs. So we believe that's the one reason why we were given the reprieve, because we can stay here.
So Michelle wants to know, did you ever get your stuff?
Everybody in the community that we've ever, met either in the parks or online, everybody's just been miraculous.
Yeah.
One thing we did.
Awesome people.
Yeah. One thing we did, we're in our the garage of our toy hauler, which we made into an office. We took the Happy Jack benches out and just happened to be talking to a neighbor at like the second or third park we ever went to about, we want to build desks. And well, I just happen to be a retired contractor.
Yeah.
And so we had these wonderful desktops made after we took the benches out, and we both work online. So we both have our computers set up, and it's just a really great office situation for us. And we still have the queen bed that can come down for guests when our grandchildren come to visit, when that's able to happen.
John, can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Can they hear me? Michelle wants to know if they got their stuff.
No, by stuff, what do you mean?
Well, no, they were going back to California to get their stuff.
Oh, yeah. We did wind up going back to California and loading up and getting our stuff. It took us 2 or 3 weeks to get the rig loaded and then get back out on the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're out on the road now.
We're
totally home.
We're doing it.
So
we've been full time in since what, about January?
End of January.
End of January.
Yeah.
So
we've traveled through.
What's next on your agenda?
Right.
Just staying
We've
there.
been in a couple of different places in California because of my scan schedule and follow-ups. We had to stick around the LA area so that I could go to City of Hope. But now we've been in Arizona, we've been in Nevada. We're heading up to Utah to see some grandkids. Our plan is to, by Memorial Weekend, be in Bozeman, Montana to see that grandbaby. And then we have family in Arkansas and in Tennessee. And so we, as through the summer, travel back that way to Tennessee. And then our ultimate goal is to be at Elkhart to the Grand Design
event,
National Rally.
Yep, at the end of the summer. So they're booked up, but they've got the flexibility to put it off by 4 or 5 weeks, whatever's necessary. But their schedule is pretty much, they're going north and then south and then north, and then after September, depending upon what the situation is, you're booked 5 months out.
Right.
We have family in Arkansas. We have family in Tennessee. So we'll, providing everything loosens up, we'll be heading back to visit family.
Visit the rest of the family.
Great. Folks that are watching, if you have any questions that you want to ask of our friends, then go right ahead and send them right there, and they can respond to them. And we want to thank you so much, Jay and Gay, for watching, and just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Thanks for joining us live.
And
we appreciate you guys having us on. This has been fun.
Thanks,
the audio is interesting. We've got loops of everybody's conversation playing in our ears. It's like singing around.
I don't know if that's there or here.
Ironically, after a few curveballs, we're right on time. I know you have Chuck there, and hopefully, if Chuck is listening and watching, we can bring Chuck up.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Not up, Chuck, but bring Chuck up.
Thanks for having us, you guys.
Thanks, you.
Guys.
Okay, let me
We have Chuck.
I do. He's patiently waiting on the other side here. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
There we go.
Chuck is on. Chuck, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You hear me?
We hear.
Beautiful.
Great.
All right.
We saw you eating supper before.
Yeah.
No.
Getting ready. So
it's too early. It's too early here.
Oh, that's true. You're in Arizona as well, right?
Yeah, 4:30. So not quite ready.
So you saw our guests. What hopefully you were able to see some of that. But
yeah.
What are you seeing from people responding to your newsletter? How many do you send out a day?
Oh, we send out a newsletter every single day, and we have about 500,000 people that come to our website every month. So it's good sized audience.
It's a random sample that is certainly big enough to have some validity to it.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I know Bob had the first question for you. Bob, go right ahead.
Well, I wanted to introduce Chuck. We've known him for so long, and we tend in this industry you tend to think that everybody knows everybody. But for those of you who are joining us tonight, Chuck Woodbury is the editor and founder of. Well, I'll tell you, you do a great job explaining. You introduce yourself.
Oh, my website's rvtravel.com, and I've had it for 20 years, and we're more like an online magazine, news, information, advice, and have about 15 different regular writers that contribute every day, every week. And I think the last I looked, we had 7,500 articles on the website, and so no, right now we're covering the coronavirus thing really heavily. It's what people are interested in. So we're doing a daily report that's pretty exhaustive of what's going on that affects RVers. So I'm kind of living and breathing it.
Yep, and like I say, you've been doing it for quite some time from the road, and Chuck is really one of the few people. Well, Alan Warren's out there too that really fights for the consumer. The consumer doesn't have a lot of voices in this industry, so no. Chuck has built his entire business around satisfying the needs of consumers and educating the consumers. And because I think the top subscribing one is probably a Sunday morning newsletter.
Yeah, they are read by, I think we send out close to 100,000 emails. Not everybody opens it, but it's a big. We'll have 1,000 people on at one time on a Saturday morning. So when you're around 20 years and you keep doing it and you're doing it right, you build up a crowd.
Hey, Bob, maybe you can punch up Chuck's the name of the email.
I'll put the address at the. But Chuck, you wrote an opinion piece this morning, and you were livid. You were off the wall. There was one. When you rant, you got a good rant, but you really let one out there this morning. So tell us a little bit about that one. That's why. And by the way, folks, I just got a hold of Chuck today, and he was kind enough to agree to come on tonight when I told him what our subject was. But talk about your opinion piece this morning and what's going on out there.
Well, first of all, I think it's easy for people to get online because we're all sitting around our homes or our RVs and we can't go anywhere. So what else? Talk to you guys is great. No, a friend of mine, Andy Zipser, he owns a campground in Staunton, Virginia, along I-81, and he just got the word, a really nice campground. He got the word just last week out of nowhere. You got to kick out all your people that aren't booked in there for at least, I think, another 14 days. So he can't take overnight visitors. And yet the local hotels, at least at the time I wrote the story, which was Friday, could take people in. And I just said, how illogical is that? You can't take somebody in a self-contained RV that's not going to have any association with other people.
Yep.
And you can check into a hotel, cough all night if you want. The maid comes in the next day, cleans it up, and not sanitizes it, moves from room to room, and yet that's okay. And that was basically my thought. Is it just wasn't these poor people, these full timers that haven't got a place to stay. They go from one place to another, and they want to stop in an RV park for the night, and they say, sorry, if you stay 14 nights, you can stay, but otherwise you can't. Every state's different, but that sort of thing is going on. I do think that public opinion will force people to, the governments to rescind those orders. I mean, you've got LA that's putting out RVs for people to quarantine, and then you've got Virginia that somehow says it's unsafe to come in. Andy told me that one of the people that influenced the law in Virginia had told his legislator or the governor that these people are coming in, these RVers are coming in from out of state and they're stealing our food. I thought, boy, that's a stretch. So that's what I wrote about. It just seems stupid, and it's going on all over the place. So
the point that you mentioned, the story that you just told, is exactly, I don't know if our other pieces work or not, Bob, but that's exactly the story with Jay Luster and his wife. Were in the campground, and they had a week left to go on their lease, if you will, the time that they were supposed to be there. So they didn't fall within the 14-day or more category, and they were thrown out, and they called it a gubernatorial eviction. The governor was saying, you got to get out. Now, he was able to go to another place that he had a 30-day reservation with. That's why he was able to stay within the state. But anybody who knows anything about traveling in the Northeast, I-81 is that major highway that goes goes all the way up to the New York border, but down through New York, down through Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee. You got to get off 81. You can't drive it all in one day. So if you want to get off and spend the night in a campground, evidently in this particular case, you can't do it.
Andy put up a sign, and I reprinted what he wrote on it, and he said, it's a late notice sign, and it says, I can't accept your reservation, and then he gave directions to one part of the park. And he says, you're welcome to go over there and stay the night and on the house.
Okay.
We have a little donation box. If you want to leave some money, fine, but you don't have to. And he was very clear they don't have to. So he's just getting somebody off the street, maybe somebody who needs electricity. They got a residential refrigerator. They can't just stop at a Walmart,
Or they have a CPAP machine or something.
Or a lot of RVers have that. Our surveys, I was so surprised when we found that, I don't know what it was, 30% or something of our readers, and it's an older crowd, were using those machines. Yep. So yeah, that's important.
Yeah. The other thing is, I've traveled that 81 more times than I care to remember, is that about 10 years ago, they closed about 4 out of 5 rest areas. There used to be rest areas about every 40 or 50 miles. Now they're closed. So it says next rest area, 110 miles.
Do you know one of the reasons they're closing them?
Go ahead.
People are going in and stealing the toilet paper.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
they're wiping out the toilet paper, so they have to close the rest area.
Yeah, no, I mean, permanently closed about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay, different, but that's what
they're grown over and that type of thing. They're just, they use them as way stations now or something like that.
Yeah.
What are your writers? What are your readers saying? Because you welcome a lot of comment on every one of your pieces. What's the public saying that's reading your issues?
I think most people are staying put. Of course, everybody's frustrated. This is like nothing that any of us have dealt with, and you just really can't go out in an RV now and travel the way we used to be able to. I mean, all the RV parks or all the national parks are basically closed, and state park campgrounds are almost all closed. County parks, there's no place to stay, and so I think our group has just pretty much accepted what's going on, taking it in stride. And I think most of them know we're in for a pretty long haul. And of course, a lot of them are fighting loss of jobs or income or whatever. So it's a tough time. And so, yeah, they're just people. What are you going to do? You just got to deal with it and stay away from other people. But, I got neighbors right behind me here, and I noticed there's 3 sets of neighbors, and they're all 10 feet apart. So that wouldn't have been true, 2 months ago.
Normally.
Well, a lot of the comments that we're hearing around the country is that when everything is opened up, we're not going to go too far. The people in New England are going to stay in New England. So for Walter Swenson and Audrey, now Audrey, you always have your caravan with all your friends that go all around the country. What have you done as far as rescheduling your folks and the many trips that you take as a camping group? And Walter, what are you hearing from the Good Sam people? I just think that, the dealers are going to do well. They're going to sell a lot of RVs when this thing opens up, because people are not going to want to go on cruises and they're not going to want to go on airplanes. But they're going to stay pretty local. I think most of the people in New England are going to camp either in the state they live in or maybe one right next door. I don't think you're going to see people running all across the country.
So, Bob, while we're waiting for Walter and Audrey went ahead and became a grandmother. That's why she's missed a couple weeks. But, Chuck, you've got a very specific reason for not going back to Seattle. Tell us what that is.
Well, my home which I just bought a couple years ago, is when Gail and I took off about early November. We thought we'd be gone for maybe 2-3 months. We'd done 2 years of full timing and came back and bought a house. And the first outbreak in the United States was at the nursing home in Kirkland, which everybody knows about now, where 30-some people have died. Well, that's about 7 miles from my house. So I was right in the center of everything. And we were going to go back. But we're down here in a county that's got, I think, 12 people so far that are infected. And, it's almost, when you drive around, it almost looks like business as usual. If you're not from here and you can't say, wow, I'm literally 200 feet off Route 66. And, but it's just, it seems like normal, but with the exception of everybody is keeping to themselves.
You near Williams? Are you near Williams, Arizona?
Down the interstate, yeah, a little lower. Williams is up near the Grand Canyon, which of course was closed either yesterday or the day before, along with Zion many of the parks, Arcata, back where you are.
Acadia,
they're
yeah.
all closed. Acada? Acada?
Acadia, ACADIA, where the sun first hit the United States. Bob, Andy Park has a good note here. Want me to read his question?
I see it. Yeah, yeah. What are the
Okay.
trade groups such as the RVIA doing to assist RVers in need? RVIA, RVDA, and RVing, which is the Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds, have formed a collaboration, and they are working at the legislative level. So they're working with the president, they're working with the governors of all 50 states, and local representatives to try to make sure we can get the campgrounds open. And of course, the dealers are at the mercy of whatever the government does there. So several of our manufacturers have converted their plants. I know Keystone is converting some of their plants to mask and aprons. Winnebago is making masks out of one of their big plants. So they're doing stuff on the backside. But most of the consumer needs are going to have to be addressed at the local level with the governors and the state reps, because it's all over the place. There is not one universal rule. Walter says, of course, they'll be camping as a group of people, not a Good Sam chapter. That's right, Walter. Did I say Good Sam? I got to get the name of a new group down pat there. So yeah, you'll be doing it, but it will be interesting. And I don't know if you've heard this from any of your readers, Chuck, but are any of the campgrounds, or do you see any indication that when the campgrounds open, they may just rent every other site for the social distancing? Is that coming up in conversations at all?
You know what? I don't think that's necessary. You know, you're not sneezing from your RV to the next RV. They may say stay inside or keep your distance, but even the ones you see down in LA, the pictures of the ones that are where they're quarantined people, they're just parked right next to each other. Now, I don't think that's going to be a solution or even proposed. Yeah.
You know, Audrey says she's worried about her fall trip to the Great Smoky Mountains and New York City, where she stays across the river at Liberty, Liberty Campground there.
Liberty,
yeah, in Bayonne or Jersey City. And Dr. Fauci is predicting a fall resurgence of the pandemic. Let's get over this one first.
Let's get over this one and see what the fall.
And Maria says days in Florida sewing masks and shipping them all back to Massachusetts. And I know Maria earlier said that they've put off their trip back to Massachusetts somewhere here, planning on heading to Canada. But that's another thing. Chuck, as far as what you see from what you've heard in the research that you do for the, from the various writers that you have throughout the country, has anybody put any kind of timetable as to quote unquote all clear, green light, return to normal? What have you heard anything consistent?
You know, I've heard nothing, and I frankly think the fall we're still going to be dealing with severe problems. I don't know what. You know, the 1918 pandemic was there's an American Experience program on it's available online on the PBS did on it. It's real interesting because what happened was in 1 month 11,000 people died in Philadelphia alone, just in Philadelphia. And then literally a month or two after that, it just stopped. The dying stopped. And what happened is there got to be so many people with immunity that the virus there's a term for it, I don't know what it is, but the virus could no longer spread. And so that whole thing burned out almost overnight. And so if all these people that are getting it, that are not getting sick or are not showing symptoms, if they are building up immunity, then that very same thing could happen here, which means it could just literally stop. But then again, it could just keep going. But I don't see any life. I honestly wish I could see in my crystal ball that everything was going to be back to normal by fall. But I think people ought to be just. I don't think we're going to get back what we want quite that fast. I hope we do, but I don't think. I don't know if the parks are going to be open, museums are going to go out of business, all the things that we do. If everything's going to open back up, I mean, face it, there's going to be a lot of changes. People are going to lose their jobs and people are going to have to readjust, and who knows where all that, the economy is going to go. So it's pretty fast. Hopefully it does. But right now, as long as we did a survey today and we asked people, how comfortable were they and where they're self-quarantined, and almost all of them, and then we've had, last I saw, there was a couple thousand people responded, almost all of them said they were very comfortable. So everybody's hanging in there, picking up a new hobby, spending time on the internet, watching TV, whatever, and doing okay. We're the lucky ones. I think downtown New York City, where you're all crammed together, I feel bad for those people.
Just a ghost town. Yeah, an absolute ghost town.
Yeah.
Jesse brought up a very interesting point here. Made a few deals today, helping people out with alternative safe space. And, we've talked about people renting RVs. And Bob, maybe you want to talk a little bit about a situation where some people might be expecting that they can get a free RV from dealerships because they heard that they're a safe space. I don't know if you want to get into that on this show.
We won't mention names, but we've got some dealers that have been getting calls from people. And let me back up a little bit. One of the things that's come out on the RVing calls and the RVDA and the RVIA, because people are, staying home.
Tell people what RVing is. A lot of people don't know what that is.
Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds. But
right. Okay.
They had a mental health professional on the call the other day. Alcohol sales through March of this year are 55% higher than March of last year. And they warned the campgrounds to watch out for depression, belligerent behavior, intolerant people, and mental health issues. So we actually had somebody call a customer of a dealer, call the dealer, and wanted them to bring over an RV to their house so that her husband could stay in it to be quarantined. He's a doctor. And when the woman said, well, we can't do that. There's liability issues, there's insurance issues, there's, there could be town ordinances say you can't do that. Well, how are you going to empty the holding tanks? And the woman got so frustrated, and this is an existing customer. She said, I'm never going to do business with your dealership again, and hung up on her. But there are people that, because they drive by an RV dealership and they see all these RVs, they think that they should just give them away to people and let them use them as other houses. So we're trying to be not politically correct, but we're going to put up something on the website, showing them where they can rent them, where they can buy them. There are people, we have had some of our dealers that have donated them for causes. We got one dealer that's donated a motorhome down to the Boston Center for the Boston Healthcare Center for the homeless. We got other doctors and nurses that are living in them, but that's going to become an issue for some of the dealers. Yeah.
I think Bob, that there was some stuff on social media that was spreading the word that to that effect, that the people could get a free RV somehow, and I think that's probably related to that. So a lot of people thought that somehow that there's free RVs out there for me, something like that. It got all translated wrong. Yeah.
Well, we found I had a dealer down in Connecticut that had a policeman who wanted to self-quarantine himself from his family because he's out in the front lines every day. So he was staying in a hotel in Connecticut, and the hotel was charging $300 a night. This was coming out of his own pocket. And the dealer gave him just lent him a trailer and pulled it up to his house, and he's going to do it. So there's a lot of good stories like that out there. But can you imagine a hotel, when most of them are closed, charging somebody $300 a night? I told him we should have driven the travel trailer right through the hotel, but that probably wouldn't have been too nice. Yeah.
But we just have a few minutes left. There's some good comments here that I think we want to read before. Maria says that her daughter is a teacher and she feels so bad for all the kids. And you know what? My daughter's a teacher. She feels bad that these kids, and she's a special ed teacher. And you know what? There's a lot of kids that are in circumstances where they need that school environment to just to function. So, that's kind of a hidden population there that will be suffering with this. Walter says
I did on that note. I did see something on TV last night, because there's a lot of these programs out there for kids schooling online, But there are actually 3 sites out there for special ed kids. They didn't list them, but that'll do special education online. So we'll chase that down. So what does Walter say?
So Walter says he agrees with Chuck, 2021 before we see anything close to normal. But at the same time, John Sinesi says, hi, guys. As you know, the camping season in New England will be opening on May 1st. I have no idea where you got that. What are your feelings about this season canceling multiple campgrounds that I booked? John, you want to cancel, and you're asking what? Should they give you refunds or whatever? I don't know where the May 1st date came from, but talking to anybody, I think May 1st is probably the most
that brings, yeah, John, we're in Massachusetts, we're out to May 4th, and there's good indication that's going to get extended again. I don't think anybody's going to camp in New England much before June 1st, to be honest with you. But
and I don't know who would want to go to mass gatherings because
right, you want to go slow. But I did know there was a situation today, and this is coming up. I wonder if you're seeing some of this, Chuck, where when the people cancel, they've had these reservations for a long period of time. I'm going to say a majority of the campgrounds are not issuing refunds. They will give a credit. But there was a guy on one of the forums this morning that he had, not only had he booked the campground and paid in advance, but it was somewhere around New York because he had booked 2 tours from the campground into the city. So not only is he not getting his money back for the campground, he's not getting his money back from the tours. He's getting no money whatsoever.
But the kicker with that particular story is that the campground called him and said they were canceling. He wasn't calling them for canceling. They were calling him saying the park is closed and we're not, and the tour money, which is probably an outside third party, they weren't going to give him any of that money back. I think that was his big concern. I'm trying to figure out who the person was. It's somebody I know. But, and Audrey says the first response, her husband is a firefighter. And so many of our medical professionals have to deal with these people. Wait a minute. They have to deal with people who have cabin fever. PTSD is a real thing nowadays.
Yeah. The fact that they had to bring the mental health professional, and on those calls are campground owners from all around the country, and they're just giving a fair warning that you got to look at your local mental health resources too, because that's going to be a burden on them. So
Chuck, what would you say to
what's that?
What would you say to the RVing public right now? Not necessarily just full timers, about sit still.
Just sit still, be safe, wash your hands. Just understand that this is nothing that anybody wants. It's almost like a nightmare to some people. And it just must seem incredible to some people that they're so unfortunate to have this going on. But, if they're safe, if their kids are safe, keep them safe, ride it out. It'll get over someday. And we're just going to have to, we're also used to doing whatever we want. The old RV thing, go where you want, when you want.
Whenever.
We're just so used to that this is for people that are used to being free and go where they want and enjoy their lives in these beautiful little houses they have that move. And some of these people just bought them. They just bought them.
Right.
And now they can't use them. I mean, how frustrating must that be? So I think people just got to accept that this is a crummy deal and that we're just going to I'm going stir crazy sitting in my thing and just, walk the dog around a little bit, but I can't go anywhere. I like to go to restaurants. I like to go to little cafes and museums, and they're all closed. So, hey, it's a little bit boring, but hey.
But you're getting a lot of writing done.
I'm getting a lot of writing done. So and people need that. We're getting a lot of information out, and
let's being perfectly clear here. If we've got our health, everything else is a far second.
Absolutely. Just it's going to be an inconvenience, but that's okay.
Before I let you run, is there a particular page on? I should know this because I get most of your newsletters, but if they wanted to see all of the newsletters that you publish, because you got RV tips, you got first timers, you got full timers, you got the coronavirus one now, you got bikes electricity one. But is there a a page on rvtravel.com that lists every one of your newsletters?
Well, there is, but you could do a search. But I think that if you just go to the front page, rvtravel.com, you'll see the most recent issues. And if you scroll back through the categories, they're all there.
Okay.
And if people want to get our emails, they can just go to rvtravel.com/subscribe and sign up for the weekly, comes out Saturday and Sunday. And then we have RV Daily Tips, which comes out during the week. And we have a coronavirus update in all of those. So just based on what happened, the developments from the day before.
And also, folks, I think we should tell you that those 3 interviews that we had lined up, we will figure out a way to get them to you. We'll probably just put them right on YouTube and put them on the New England RV Dealers Association YouTube page within the next day or so, if we're able to do that, and ask that you take this page like you do all the others, and please share it with your friends. There's a lot of material here that is kind of breaking news tonight to let people know about what they can expect in the next few weeks, next few months. And special thanks to our guest, Jay Williams and Gay Hicks, and also especially to Chuck.
Yeah, anytime, guys. I'm just sitting around doing nothing, so except writing, and get me out of away from my computer. Of course, I'm looking at my computer. So what am I saying? Yeah.
I really appreciate you jumping on there, Chuck. And we will post those other ones, and if maybe we'll play one next week. But we'll get that information out to you. But good discussion tonight all around. It's really a dilemma for those full-time people.
Who's our Wednesday guest?
Our Wednesday guest, I think it's Mark and Don Polk.
Oh, well, in that case. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think this is
we're booked out for the month.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. Please share this page. Go to YouTube, New England RV Dealers. Subscribe to that page. The more people that we have, the more resources that we can keep you informed about all the latest in this particular situation. Have a great evening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks. It's fun.
All right.
Okay.
Boom, boom, boom.
Rob, you got the control.
Got it. Thank you.